I was worried that if we hire someone, they're going to take what we're doing and just copy it, right? They're going to take what we're doing and they're going to copy it. And now we're just like training our competition and like, why don't we just keep doing it ourselves? We do it better anyway, right? And so like, why hire someone to do it? And I think that's really just fear talking. That's like fearful thinking that isn't based in any kind of reality.
Boom, 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 boom. What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolf and Joe Fier. Check it. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, we're here.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Is Justin here? Who's Justin?
Justin's waiting in the green room right now.
Oh, he's in the green room?
Yeah.
Are we going to bring him out?
We're going to bring him out in just a second, right after you intro who the hell he is.
Whoa.
I was going to. That was kind of a. I couldn't decide in the moment whether I was going to say heck or hell, so it kind of came out as hell.
Hell.
So why don't you?
I will, Matt. Thank you
tell
very
us
much.
Who we're talking to. Yeah.
We used to be talking to another gentleman from the Empire Flipper conglomerate. I don't know if it's conglomerate, but his name is Justin Cooke. He is the founder and one of the founders and partners of Empire Flippers. You might have remembered Greg Elfrink. We've had him on the podcast not that long ago, maybe a month or two ago, and another time 2 years or so before that. Awesome guy, you know. Well, Justin is too, but Greg. So if you want to like dive into what Empire Flippers does at like a deep level and all these kind of cool things, and listen to that later. But Justin Cooke, he's going to kind of walk us through the whole background, how this thing got started, some cool parallels to our business and what we've done. But
he's going to walk you through a whole process on how to hire team members,
apprentices, even some employees as well. And we talk a lot about, we're asking him about selling sites. So kind of you'll get another perspective, kind of like what Greg talked about on previous episodes, but you're going to dig it. And these guys are doing some interesting stuff because they're not all remote, but a lot remote. It's just really cool. So you're going to learn a ton from Justin, and they're doing huge things at Empire Flippers.
Yep.
And you're going to know their process on how they do that and get the people behind them.
Yep. So go grab the notes for this episode, the action guide for this episode. Go to flowchartgroup.com. That'll redirect you to where you can join our Facebook group. If you join our Facebook group and give us your email, we will email you the action guide from this episode. So go over to flowchartgroup.com, and you get the benefit of being in an awesome Facebook group that is super interactive and has a lot of badasses. So go over there.
Awesome.
Flowchartgroup.com. Let's go talk to Justin.
And this episode is sponsored by our friends at Vidyard, who make it very, very simple to create videos, either one-on-one or maybe it's one-to-many, like posting it on your website for the world. But this is how you connect with people these days. Vidyard makes it so dang easy to create the videos, post them ad-free, and then share them with whoever you want, and you can actually track their performance easily in the back end. It's built for businesses with the robust analytics, tons of integrations with other tools and ways to customize this. So this is super cool. If you want to, bring in interactive video elements, personalized videos, you can even use them in places for, so they could be your marketing videos, embed them in email campaigns, on landing pages, on blog posts, and just generate more leads and more sales ready folks that come into your pipeline. You can even use it for your customers. We do that all the time as well. The beautiful thing is that people love personalization, and when you're using these video, it's a wow factor. I mean, we get responses all the time when we use these types of videos for folks. It's an unexpected thing, and this is what's going to really get you to stand out in this day and age when people really want to see people like this. So Vidyard is making it super easy, and they're hooking you up, Hustle and Flowchart listeners, with a free account. You can try it right now, and we have a special URL. You can get hooked up with that special deal if you go to vidyard.com/flow. That's vidyard.com/flow, and they will hook you up. There's no promo codes, none of that stuff. Just go to vidyard.com/flow. Grab an account for free, and also grab their video guide. They actually have some tips and tricks on how to implement this stuff and get some ideas for your business. It's called a 2021 B2B Video Trends Guide. So it's totally free at vidyard.com/flow. All right, we're rolling, Justin. Thanks for joining us late at night on your side.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
For sure. Yeah, you guys can't even keep track of all the schedules. Greg Elfrink, we've had him on the show a couple times. Always a big hit with our folks. And I think he's pulling the same kind of hours you are whenever we're doing these shows. So.
Yeah, we're both in Vietnam. So yeah, we got to do these kind of like late night calls. My business partner, who's normally in the Philippines, he's now in Colombia. He's in Medellin. Yep. So he's in like a normal normal time zone.
I think he's
but yeah, but he does like the morning calls, and then I'll do kind of like the late night calls. So midnight one, I'm like, it's fine.
Nice.
Man, well, so you and Joe founded the company, right? Empire Flippers? Together?
Yeah, we started off as a company called, we were originally an outsourcing company, and then we had a side project that we called AdSense Flippers. Oh. And really it was born out of us just building these small little, like an affiliate site, but based on AdSense, the monetization site from Google, AdSense sites, and just kind of having them make money, $50 a month, $100 a month. And it was kind of a side gig for us to get started.
That's exactly how we got started.
Yep. It is.
Blogging. And we thought we made it when we were at like $100 a month. We're like, throw in the towel. We're done with the career,
I'm retiring, baby. I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah, it had some fumbles along the way, of course, but
couple.
Yeah, just a couple. But yeah, I mean, Empire Flippers as it is now, you said what, 80 hires or employees? Is that where you're at now?
Yeah, I think we just broke 80 full-time employees.
Wow.
Maybe a little over 15 to 20 of those are out of the Philippines, but the rest are just kind of like all over the place. We've got, Americans living in Colombia. We've got, Europeans living in Hong Kong. So we got people all over, totally distributed team.
Yeah, you're just showing everybody the world, basically, huh? You're like, hire and we're going to fly you around here.
Well, it used to be like pre-COVID, like we did a lot of travel. Like we do meetups twice a year, right? So we get our entire team together and just kind of like ball out. Like we'd rent a villa in Phuket and just have a blast. And so like all that's kind of gone. And so our value prop to new hires now, it's like, well, you can stay at home and work. Like it's cool, but like everyone's doing that now, right?
Yeah. So when you first started Empire Flippers, how did you get that initial momentum going? How did you get traction and actually start getting people to come to your website and want to and trust you enough to be the facilitator of these sales?
Yeah, so we were originally just selling. We were like, well, we weren't going to sell them at all. We were just building these sites and building them for ourselves. We figured to cash flow them. That's kind of a side project. We had our main business was the outsourcing company, and this was like we had had one of our major customers pull back on us, and we needed some way to kind of like get this crew to pay for themselves. We didn't have to lay them off.
Right.
And so we started. We looked for a couple of options. We tried a few things, and we started building out these small niche AdSense sites. And they started to get a little bit of traction, right? But Joe and I were probably in the hole, like we'd spent maybe $10,000 on it, $12,000, and maybe we were making $400 or $500 a month, like not enough to like justify the kind of like build spend. And like, at the time that was a lot of money for us, right? And we were like, what do we do with this? Do we just keep dumping more money into this, or what do we do? And so we realized, what if we could sell some of these sites off and reinvest that into building out more sites? And so that's kind of what we started doing. We realized that if we sold these off, like $100 a month site could sell for, at the time, $1,500, maybe $2,000. And then we could take that and build out, a bunch of new sites, right? At like $100 per site or something. And so that's kind of how we got started there. And then we realized if we're going to sell these sites, we should probably build an audience of people that are interested in buying them, right? That'd probably be helpful. And so we started talking about our process online. And we just, instead of everyone else who like kind of hides it behind like a paywall or whatever, this is kind of the way you would do it at the time. You like, show like 70% of it and then hold the secrets back, through a paid course or whatever. And we're like, let's break the mold and just tell everyone exactly how we do it. And so that garnered us a bunch of traction kind of early, not a bunch, a little. Like we got like Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income to kind of go, hey, these guys are kind of cool. And
it's a good little promoter for you.
Yeah, which helped, right? It helped us get started. And others did that for us. And we started to get like, people start checking our stuff out. And what we realized is, for every, 100 subscribers, most of them were there just to learn how to build the sites. But a couple of them said, look, I don't want to build the sites. I'll just buy the sites from you. It's earning $100 a month. I'll just buy one of those sites. I don't want to like try and like get started. I'm willing to spend a little bit of cash to kind of like, get my feet wet in this. And that turned out to be kind of a real driver for people buying websites from us.
Yeah. Now this is, there's a lot of parallels here because Matt and I, we've been in business together for 14-ish years, something like that.
Yeah,
13.
2007 was when we started our first blog together. So
did a lot of site flipping. Yeah, and site flipping as well. I mean, we were kind of using some other websites. Didn't know about you guys.
Yeah, Flippa, right? Like that's where we started.
That's
we
right.
started on Flippa because that was like the only one. It was like the eBay for buying and selling sites. Yeah. And so we started using them too, and that kind of got us started. And then what we had is we had people building courses around how to copy the sites we were listing on Flippa, like specifically around our process. They're like, go here, look at their username, copy the sites. They're already in good niches and you can make money. Wow. So we were like, you know, a lot of the sites we were selling to people, they would end up buying it and then have like 15, 20 competitors right away building sites in their niche.
Oh man.
And so we had buyers reach out to us. They're like, look, can you just not list the URL and not post it on Flippa and like just sell to us directly? And we're like, you don't even need to know the niche or whatever. They're like, no, tell me how much it's earning.
Wow.
Tell me the general niche and then we'll buy it from you. And we're like, okay, we won't be using Flippa, I guess. So we over on our site, we put up like a little, it was, you can use the Wayback Machine or something for like AdSense flippers, like Marketplace or whatever. But it was like just this kind of like, a table with like a PayPal button to buy the listings. It was literally like just the kind of funkiest little setup you've ever seen. But like people really dug it. They were like, yeah, I can buy these little earners, and you know, we create a marketplace for it.
I think it was a super brilliant model. Yeah, because Matt and I did the same thing. We would spend some time to build a site, and we build it more with a course kind of thing behind it rather than for AdSense. But it was, I mean, it helped a lot of people. We were able to reinvest that into whatever we were doing. We didn't stack it and continue doing more of the same, kind of like what you did. But I like how the evolution stacked up into what Empire Flippers is now.
Yeah, we always call that like our little like back of our pocket tool belt that, if we ever needed quick cash, we can go within a week, have something, sell it on Flippa, and
$1,500 or whatever.
Make a grand or two in a day, or over a course of a week. And we've always had that in our back pocket of something like, if shit ever hits the fan, we know we can go do that.
Yeah, well, see, so that's the thing. So shit hit the fan for us. So like, we were building these sites, and like they were making money. We were like, oh, we're gonna scale this to the moon, right? So we had built up this like audience of buyers, and they were hungry for buying websites. So we were only limited by our own ability to produce supply. So like there's a marketplace problem. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but you need to get like network effects, and you need to solve one side of the equation first. So we'd solve the supply side. Like we were delivering the supply until we weren't, right? So these sites we were building, they made money at first. And then I think it was there's a bunch of Google updates. One of them was the EMD update, the exact match domain update. And it crushed our process. Instead of like making profitable sites, we went down to barely profitable, a bunch of losers, a few winners that like made up for it. But like it crushed our process. And so, we'd had a bunch of people ask us, they're like, hey, you've got these audience of buyers. Can I just sell my site with you? And we always told them no. We were like, no way, man. Cause like, that's our moneymaker. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like that makes it, there's no way. Why would we do that and get, a percentage of your sale? That's crazy town. And then when our sites weren't working out as well, we were like, okay, let's revisit that. Let's go back to that.
Hey, Jim, you got that stuff? That's
you want to sell? You can. We're willing to take a look at it. This time.
So that's where the whole brokerage and this kind of thing began. Then shit hitting the fan, pivot, and then what? It's kind of been that course ever since then. It sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. And we started selling. I think we were selling, a $15,000 site or $20,000 site. Something making $800 a month, $1,000 a month, right? And we started taking those sites on, and then started to grow it. So we started doing $50,000 sites, and then finally we broke the six-figure sites, and just continued to scale that up.
I think that was a recent thing you guys had, right? I think Greg might have mentioned it. You had a pretty big breakthrough of a sale of a website. Might have been the six-figure one, right?
No. We had three. Sorry, we've gotten much bigger. So this is like back in we're talking like 2012, 2013. We just did our first 8-figure deal was, I think it was December of 2020, and now since then we've done 3 total. We've done 3 deals over $10 million.
Dang, congrats, man! That's rad.
So when you guys first started, it was you and your partner Joe, right? What was the first hire that you brought on? Like what was the first when you finally decided, okay, we need some extra help? Who did you bring in first?
Yeah, so because we'd run an outsourcing company previously, and we were already in the Philippines, like we had kind of a good base, a good team. They'd been trained for like other SEO projects we'd worked on for clients. So we already kind of had that staff in place, and they were very cost effective. They didn't cost a lot of money. But then we realized, we need to hire someone that can do kind of some of the things that Joe and I are doing. We can't find someone that we can train and get up to speed here. So we started looking kind of like, what the hiring process might look like. But our thought was like, we live in the Philippines. It's like, half a world away from the US. Nobody would want to come out here and work for, a couple of jackasses like us. Like, no one's interested in that. And then we made a connection with these guys from a blog and podcast called the Tropical MBA, and we went and met up with them in the the Philippines, and they had just hired this what they were calling apprentice. And so this guy had just been hired, and I think he'd showed up like 2 days before. He'd like just gotten there. And we were like, oh, let's go meet this donkey, right? He's not going to be like, what, he doesn't even know what he's in for here. And we met this guy, and he was like super sharp and very helpful. And we were like, God, if we had a guy like that, we'd crush it. So, and then, the guys there, Dan, Andrew's like, dude, you guys should absolutely do this. I love the model, kind of explained, his apprenticeship model. And we were like, done, dude, we're totally stealing this. So we went back to our place in the south of the Philippines and put an ad out and hired our first apprentice.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm just drawing more parallels too, because the head of content for our business right now, who's editing this podcast and editing all the video and putting it on YouTube, all that, he started as an apprentice in our business.
What up, Jacob? Yeah. No, we went the Gen M route. It was called that, but Acadium now, and it's been almost 2 years or 2 years on the dot or so.
Pretty close. Yeah, we're getting there.
So
what is that? The Gen M? What's that?
Gen M was a place where you can basically source apprentices. They rebranded as Acadium more recently, but it was basically a business could go to them, pay them $50 a month. At
the time, at least.
At the time, I don't know what it costs now, but at the time, you could pay Gen M $50 a month. They would match you with an apprentice. And then you didn't pay anything on top of that $50 a month. But after what was it, like 30 days or 60 days or something like that, you had to choose whether or not you wanted to hire on the apprentice full time. Or not full time, but if you wanted to hire on for more hours.
Right.
Gotcha. So let me explain kind of how the apprenticeship worked for ours. It wasn't an apprenticeship, but it was a paid apprenticeship. So our idea was like, look, we're bringing them halfway around the world. There's a couple of things we want to solve. First off, we don't want them like, oh my God, where am I going to get an apartment? Who's going to take me around to look at places? How am I going to get my visa sorted? All of those kind of issues you run into when you move abroad. So we were like, look, we're just going to take care of all of that for you.
Wow.
Joe and I had a townhouse. We had an extra bedroom. We're like, you're going to be in this extra bedroom. Done. We've got maid service at the townhouse to take care of. They'll cook, clean, take care of you. Like all that's done.
Nice.
Your house food is done. Like you just come over here in our heads. You come over here. We're just going to put you to work, man. That's it. Right. So none of this other stuff. And then, it wasn't a ton of money. I think it was $1,000 a month we started with. So everything paid for, and then you get an additional $1,000 a month for kind of fun or whatever.
Yeah.
And it worked, and it's in the Philippines too, right? So you're making dollars, spending pesos, which was a pretty good deal. So, we put this ad out, and we knew we had an audience, but we didn't know how well it roll over. And it was amazing. We got a ton of applicants and had a very kind of it was a little bit of a mess at first, but a very kind of long process to kind of put them through and, whittled it down to one person. Looking back, I'll just mention this, we hired one, but there were three that were super good. All three of those guys would have crushed it in our business. The one guy we hired did a great job, but I feel like we missed out on talent. In fact, I know we missed out on talent because one of those guys went on to work a couple of years later for another company, a friend's company that we know, and just killed it. And I was jealous, quite honestly, because he was super sharp. But I think if we were a little nervous about, because it was still kind of we were, young in our kind of entrepreneurial career, weren't sure about how long lasting it would be. If we ran into problems, would we be able to pay them? We were a little nervous about it, but I think looking back, we should have hired all three.
So is that kind of, I guess, because I'm thinking of some of the mistakes you had when we were just starting out, but you would have gone bigger, it sounds like, and kind of trusted yourself.
Yeah, we waited too long to hire that apprentice, and then we should have hired more to start. Now, it would have amplified some problems we had, which we can get into.
Yeah.
But I think it also would have kind of sped us through and got us to the answer sooner. For example, we were hiring these apprentices, and we were telling them 6 months to a year, you're going to be a baby bird out of the nest. We want to push you out and have you be an entrepreneur. And this was our kind of mindset. We thought we were hiring people that necessarily wanted to be entrepreneurs. And what we found were some of the people were like, well, I could go, start building sites or whatever, but I'd rather work with you guys.
Yeah.
And so they started asking us about what's my long-term pay look like? Or, am I going to get like health benefits? And we're like, what? Health benefits?
Wasn't ready for that.
Joking. You're joking, right? Like, you're going to go be an entrepreneur. And they were asking us questions that we weren't ready for. And so we fumbled around a little bit with the first couple of apprentices trying to figure that out and solve that. And realize, it is an apprenticeship, but they're going to stay on longer term. We're going to put them in kind of like, more permanent positions and eventually move them into like roles of leadership in our company.
Right.
And that's one of the benefits. Like, yes, it was cheaper pay for us to start, but we made it really easy for them, set them up completely. And they also had a seat at the table. So when Joe and I are in this like strategy meeting, trying to figure out like what we're going to do, or whether we're going to pivot, or we ran into a problem, or creating a new website, they were like seeing everything go down, and exactly like
and everything.
Yeah, they were in the room where it happened, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? And like, that's super valuable to like a 20-something that wants to be an entrepreneur and is like, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. No, I can just think of the strategy meetings Matt and I have. And I think I heard from some other podcasts, you and Joe, it's like, there's things you'll debate, and sometimes it'll sound like arguments, or, and it's like, no, it's just figuring out the plan and, or the goal of whatever the project is. So I would imagine it's so damn valuable to an apprentice to see that.
Yeah. Super and fun and interesting. And it also provides another voice. Like, maybe Joe and I like kind of making decisions, but it also gives us some perspective and feedback. Right. So that's helpful. I'll tell you, by the way, you mentioned the strategy messaging. I don't know if you guys do this or any of your audience does this, but it has been like dramatically helpful for us over nearly a decade. So we do, and it's a quarterly strategy meeting where we sit down and we plan out exactly what we're going to do. And I'll just kind of break it down, like how we do it. It started off as really basic, and we just kind of put it into Google Doc. They're still in Google Docs, by the way.
Perfect.
But we plan out kind of like, what's our long-term vision? Like our, oh shit, like we crushed it, we made it vision. Like what's that look like 3 to 5 years?
Okay, 5. Okay, 3 to 5.
3 is for us. We're so short term. But like 3 to 5 years. Like what does our best kind of company look like? And then we kind of paint the picture, and then that doesn't change very often. That's kind of every quarter. It's mostly the same. And then we break it down. We say, okay, what do we need to do this year to be on track for that 3 to 5 year plan? And so we do that in Q1 of every year. We'll do the annual, and then we do the quarterly. So we do, what do we do last quarter, to hit our goals? And then what are we doing for this next quarter to make sure we're on track for our annual? And it started off just kind of like me, Joe, and an apprentice or two kind of going through this. And now we have like full on departmental sections and kind of what their goals are and how they're doing it. We like turn this into a real beast. But the thing is like, it's easy to just kind of like float in the breeze, kind of based on, what's going on, or Google changes or Amazon changes or whatever. And this gives you like a goal, and you're not going to get there directly. There's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some peaks and valleys, but like it gives you a path to get there, and you can adjust the path. You can tweak it over time, but like just having that kind of like further out vision and a like short-term path to like guide the way is super helpful.
What are some key things that are on that document that you plan for? So, you have your further out vision, the 3 to 5 years, but what are those quarterly things that you're looking at?
Yeah. So things like, like on the marketing team, for example, right? Like we'll have particular goals on like what kind of KPIs we need for leads brought in for sellers, right? So these are kind of the number of sellers we need to bring in for this year. And we know based on how many sellers we bring in, we list this many, and on average they list for this price. So it gives us a good idea on the sell side of the house, how many deals we'll do.
Gotcha.
And then, so that's kind of the annual goal. And then quarterly, it's broken down on, okay, here's how many sellers we brought in via this channel. Here's how many we're going to try to attract with this path. So we're going to do X amount of podcast interviews, or we're going to have, this many guest posts go live, or we're going to do, a Reddit AMA this quarter to help boost kind of the growth. So we have like all the different things on the marketing side, kind of targeting that KPI. And so we do that for a bunch of different KPIs that we have.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, no, I love that whole plan. So I guess maybe we go back to the apprenticeships now, because I think this whole hiring thing is super fascinating. So, speaking to our audience, they probably don't have 80 full-time folks, most likely, maybe a couple or maybe none. Maybe they don't know anything about employees and all that, and because there's a lot of stuff there. How does someone hire their first apprentice? And, maybe that goes back in the day when you were kind of figuring this out, because now you have it dialed in, like you were saying. But what are some of those steps that someone could take?
Yeah, so it helped that we already had an audience.
Yeah.
So we already had an audience of people that were kind of paying attention to us, reading our blog, and listening to our podcast eventually. And so that made it much easier for us. And if you don't have an audience, the benefit today is that there are a gazillion job boards out there. For hiring kind of remote workers, they're just all over the place. And so, my friend runs Dynamite Jobs, but dynamitejobs.com, but there's a bunch out there. And so hiring remote workers is relatively like there's paths, there's people that will help you do it today. So, for us, we put our blog post up basically, and we kind of painted the picture on like what the role would look like. And we mentioned things like, this is the kind of job that we would have wanted 15 years ago. Like, we would have been hungry for something like this, and we're hoping we can find the right person. And we were very like, this isn't going to be just a lifestyle business, lifestyle job. This isn't going to be something where you just come and sit on the beach all day and pluck away at a keyboard every once in a while. Like, you're going to be working, but you're also going to be working directly with entrepreneurs. You're going to have everything taken care of in terms of your housing, your food, your maid service, like all that's going to be done for you. You're just going to be able to bang it out. And so I think that really drew in hustlers, like people that were willing and interested in like really hustling. It also, and not everyone's going to have this opportunity, but like we were able to take people kind of out of their comfort zone and have them come halfway around the world. So it's not like you're just kind of around everything you're used to and kind of fall into old patterns. You're in a completely new environment. And like, I think that really helps. It's a commitment level by people taking that step.
Huge.
And then, it's really great for like kind of bonding and hanging out, right, with your now like supervisor managers. But at the time, like us, it was a good time for us to get to know you and for you to get to know us. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in the US and you're hiring someone in the US, you can't do it exactly the same way, but you can do a thing where you make it, if you're there, you're having them come to you, then make it really easy for them. Get them the place, get them kind of set up, get them like, we would send out an email for people that were coming, and they would have like all these different things. Here's what to prepare as you make the move. Here's what you need to check into. Here's like what credit cards you should get. Like, here's what you should sign up for this bank account, like that kind of stuff to make it super easy for you. And I think that helps people a lot. It really kind of like, helps them kind of take that leap.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like here's your SOP manual for moving, to this foreign land that you probably have never even heard of, some of the towns or whatever it is over there.
I think one of the other things we did is we required a video. So anyone that was applying for the job, we'd have ask them a bunch of questions. So we actually didn't care so much about resumes at all. We didn't care about your school. Like, that wasn't of interest to us. It was literally ask them questions to better understand kind of who they are, and then had them submit a video. And so that helps weed out a bunch of people that aren't like terribly motivated. Like, if you're like, oh, I'll do the video later, or, oh, couldn't find the time to do the video. I mean, you just didn't follow directions. Like, I want people that can follow directions. You're out, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty helpful. If they didn't answer the questions or answer them poorly, it was just like, out. One of the most important things when you're hiring is like to view it as a sales funnel. And you guys know this quite well, but the people at the top of the funnel, you want to spend the least amount of time on, right? And you want to filter them out pretty quickly. You want to get down to the good stuff, right? And so having quick hits to get them off. Oh, they didn't submit a video. Oh, they answered these questions wrongly. Like, oh, I won't be ready to come out for 6 months, for example, when we need them in 2. That you're out. Yeah. And so having ways to kind of whittle them down to the kind of like qualified candidates is key. And you need to do that without spending too much time.
Yeah. No, it's like the stuff I remember in Odesk or Upwork. Yeah. You say a couple things, or you like complete this sentence or put this word in the subject line, and all these.
Yeah. And they started doing the double.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, did you find, you got to find the carrot or whatever. And then they started doing like a second carrot. And
I like the YouTube thing though, because you see their personality, how they present themselves, if they follow directions, of course. But yeah, it just makes filtering so much easier for your team to do. Obviously, back in the day, it was probably you or Joe doing that. Yeah. So, and you mentioned the whole audience too. I think that's super valuable because, there's platforms out there, but even for us, whenever we're looking for someone to help us, if it's a contractor, video editor, or even just looking for opportunities, post on Facebook, post on social media, because we're all connected to some people around us. They might not know someone or pass your word around. Seems to work out. So it's kind of like your job posting concept there.
I think it's it's much more understood now that everyone kind of has an audience, right? I mean, teenagers growing up today understand that they are, a media machine on their own, right? And they have an audience, and everyone knows this. But 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't so apparent. You have guys like Dan Norris. I think you had on the show previously. He's a really interesting case because I've known him a long time, and he kind of built a kind of a marketing arm first, and then twiddled, I don't know if that's the right word, but like played around with ideas, and he had one product. I was a customer of one of his product, but then it didn't really get traction. He kind of dropped that, and he would ask his audience, right? He was like, hey, what do you guys need? What are you struggling with? And kind of get ideas from them rather than just other entrepreneurs. And that's super helpful, because if you're getting ideas from people who may actually pay you something, that's a lot better than just friends and family, right? So eventually, he turned on to a couple of ideas that hit, that were, that got real traction and can really grow. And so he's just an interesting case of kind of building an audience and not really having a business behind it, and then turning that into a business. I don't think that works for everyone, but it can in the right instance. And it did with him.
Yeah. I kind of feel that way about us, actually.
Totally, man.
So when it comes to hiring, how do you decide when to bring on the next hire? I feel like hiring is actually one of the most scary things for entrepreneurs, to basically commit to investing in somebody else, and knowing that that's going to be a monthly ongoing expense. And if that expense goes away, then that means somebody's life is being affected. And I think that is honestly one of the scariest things for me about being an entrepreneur, is just the thought of there's other people dependent on me. So I'm really curious, how do you decide when to take the leap and bring on another person? You're up to 80 now, but back in the beginning, how did you kind of get past that comfort level? Did you have a criteria, once we're doing this number in sales, we need to bring on this person? How did you sort of navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned being uncomfortable, kind of having someone else's reliance on you. I mean, I think that was the thing for me too, right? It's I don't want to fail them. Mm-hmm. I don't want to, not they're going to be providing for their family, or doing everything they need to do. And if I fail them, I'm just amplifying my own failure. Mm-hmm. Right. And that would be scary and terrible for them and for me. But I think also that any entrepreneur that waits until they're ready to hire has waited way too long. Way too long. You were way past the point. I mean, you should be doing at a point that's I don't know if this is the time. That's probably that, or maybe right before that is the time. I don't have a hard criteria on what I think is where it'll flick and go, okay, this is the right time, but earlier than you think. Mm-hmm. And I know that with us, there were things. One of the concerns, and I bet some of your audience has this too, is you're worried that I was worried that if we hire someone, they're going to take what we're doing and just copy it. Mm-hmm. Right. They're going to take what we're doing and they're going to copy it. And now we're just training our competition, and why don't we just keep doing it ourselves? We do it better anyway. Right. And so why hire someone to do it? And I think that's really just fear talking. That's fearful thinking that isn't based in any kind of reality. Mm-hmm. It's the same reason you're not comfortable talking about potentially selling your business when you're selling it, or raising money, or struggles, because you don't want anyone else's competition to know. True. That's all crazy sauce. It's fine to talk about all that. But I think, I understand the fear, and I had the fear too, but one of the ways you can mitigate that is to have maybe really identify the critical piece in the work that you do a really good job at, and that is super critical to the success of whatever it is. So for us, for example, I'm building the AdSense niche sites. It was niche selection, where I was determining the exact right niche to build the new site in. That was the most important thing. It wasn't putting out the content. It wasn't site development. It wasn't SEO. Those are all, I mean, they can all be processed out, as can the niche selection. But niche selection is a critical piece that you can't do without that. So if you're worried about someone just coming on and taking that, just identify what the critical piece is and hang on to that. Literally, normally 70 to 80% of the rest of it can be done. And don't think, oh, you know what, this is so much of it's in my head. Right. That's another thing is everyone's oh, there's no way you could teach this. I'm just that good. It's right? No, that's crazy town, dude. Absolutely. I mean, people build huge factories and processes for days. You guys know this. And what you're doing isn't rocket science. I guarantee it.
Well, look at
There's a
Elon.
process for it.
You just said he's a perfect example. Yeah, rocket science.
Yeah, and he did rocket science.
Yeah,
he did
he's rocket
process it out. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of our example with Jacob, who's
sure.
listening and editing this show, right? So originally, I didn't want to bring on an editor. I did all the editing for this podcast, and I thought it would be hard to train people to do that. Well, eventually Jacob came on board. I showed him how to do it, and now he's far surpassed me. Like I stopped paying attention to the latest like editing techniques and how to improve the audio and what softwares are out there and how to do it now. And Jacob's staying up with the times. So now if we ever had to hire anybody else to do audio editing, he'd have to train him because I have no clue anymore.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. So my wife does our audio editing, and like I have no idea what she does. I don't know how to do it. And she was like, "Come on, it's so easy." She tells me, she's like, "You know how to do it. You could figure this out." I was like, "Yeah, maybe I could figure it out," but I literally couldn't. Like, if you just got hit by a bus or jeepney or whatever is what they use in the Philippines, like we wouldn't have an editor. We'd be we wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it feels good to have someone empowered enough to continue with your vision too. And I think that's the power of apprenticeships. Like what you're saying here is you're getting them from day one, and you're seeing them in their raw, I guess, with the YouTube video. So the way that they present themselves originally, and then there's the next step, which I'm curious about. What is the first interview or the pass when once you see this whole load of entries, you're sifting through all these. What does that look like after you plucked out like a handful?
Yeah. So the first interview, I mean, we would typically do, 4 or 5 for every kind of like one that we think is going to pass. And it depends on how many applicants you get, right? But if we're going to have like 4 or 5 in the final second interview, we might have 15 or so. 15 to 20 in the first interview. And we're taking people that we think have an outside chance of potentially being hired and giving them a first interview saying, look, maybe they just, didn't do great on their video. They were nervous, or maybe they just kind of flubbed this answer a little bit. If it was wrong or they didn't submit it, they're out. But if it was just a little off, we give them a shot for first interview. And we keep those really short, probably 15, 20 minutes. It's just to get a quick vibe on whether our initial kind of suspicions were right, or if we're like, oh no, they're fine for a second interview. And so we're going to cut a good portion of those, right? So we're going to cut, 80% of those people from going to second interview. So it's really, again, it's just looking for reasons to cut people out. So it's asking, that sounds harsh, but
it's the funnel, like you said, right? You're just going to layer down.
Yeah. So it's like asking them questions again, like about when they'd be ready, what's their background, how they deal with difficult situations. It wasn't so much the questions, it was more judging their kind of reactions to them. And so we look for reasons to get rid of people. And it's relatively easy still. I mean, on the first applications to like first interview, it's super easy to get rid of the clearly didn't fill this out. Like it's easy. First interview, you're like, okay, you have to be a little more, okay, we got to make sure we select people. It's a second interview that gets much more difficult because now you're dealing with people that you would probably hire. And you're kind of like rating them. And I found this out later. You're rating them. I think this person's better. And that may not have a lot of factuality once they actually come on board. It's just the best you can do. I think it works out over time if you do it right. But like we had people interview 3 or 4 times and eventually hire them, and they crush it. They were told no for a bunch of other jobs, but they end up crushing it for us, and we kind of like missed it the first couple of times around. So.
What is something now after doing all of these or your team doing them now? Like, is there something that just stands out from, in the first and second interviews that you might have let pass, or like, oh, okay, that was nice, but now you're just like, oh, hell no. Like that's a red flag now.
Yeah. Like in the second interview?
Either, the first or second. And maybe start with the first, since that's kind of the first time where you're like, okay, you got to start being a little bit more critical here.
Yeah. So in the first interview, again, it's pretty short, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true.
But just kind of following up on some of the answers they gave previously. If they say anything that contradicts themselves from what they said previously in their kind of written answers, that's a really good thing. So ask them for verification on things like that. Ask them how much, like, what research did you do on our business? And when they say, oh, I did this, and then ask them specifics about your business. Do they really know? Did they really do that? And if they're, just kind of like shotgun approach to applying for businesses, that's probably not the person you want to hire.
Yeah.
You want someone that digs in a bit. A helpful sign is when they follow up with you. So if they're sending an email, just thank you for the interview, just wanted to hit back a couple of notes from our interview, and they're boom, boom, here are these 3 or 4 things.
That's a good thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of the best, I think the best, I don't know, the last couple of years, but one of the best video submissions we had ever was this guy Vincent, who he was applying for a marketing role, and he said, look, it's kind of weird to sit here and tell you about how great I am, so I got some other people to help. And so he got a whole bunch of people, John Lee Dumas and a whole bunch of other people to say, hey, just wanted to let you know, Empire Flippers, Vincent connected with me, and it seems like a great guy. And someone else, he had a whole bunch of people do it, and some authors. And we're like, dude, that's pretty smart, man. If you're going to be a marketer and you're getting all these other people to either say, yeah, he's great, or, just want to let you know he did reach out to me and we connected, like, that's pretty smart.
That just cleared out any kind of, if you're looking for the referrals or, all that stuff, well, we already heard from all these people, testimonials, you're good.
Yeah. Well, it's something else about, like, and I'll tell you guys this, but like, we've been doing this, almost 10 years now, right? From like first hiring apprentices. And we've seen a lot of these people kind of like go on to bloom and grow on their own, either as entrepreneurs or working in other companies. And in a lot of cases, we end up doing business with previous employees, right? People that used to work for us who've done business now.
Nice.
I mean, I joke, but it's not a total joke. I could see there'd be some point in the future where I just love one of the companies they're running and I go work for them. Right?
Yeah,
so they're like one of the founders, and I'm like, no, I'll be an advisor for this, or I'll come work for it. Like, I love your kind of project. And there's a whole lot of this kind of, not family style of the business, but like, connections with people that you've worked with. I mean, I can see us in post Empire Flippers world. I could see us investing with some of our management team, going in on deals together.
Yeah. So
you're building this network of people that you're going to be able to do business with and invest with and do all these things, much further into the future. And it's really cool. And there's this trust you build up right between you. Like, they know how you work, how they work. And so there's a lot of deals to be done in the future. And so I tell our guys that all the time, that whether it's with us or it's with other people in the company, like, this is going to be an opportunity for you.
Yeah, no, it's a small world, man. I mean, and especially when you start connecting and seeing where all the dots do connect. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're training someone with your culture and your mindset, and they already have great work ethic and all that, what's to say you can't be partners in the future, maybe in some type of other arrangement? We've done that. It's freaking awesome.
100%. Yeah, we have a guy right now we're starting a new project called EF Capital, which is basically where we've had this problem of people with a bunch of money, but they don't have the skills at the time to really to learn how to run a e-commerce business or FBA business, but they like the space, right? And they want to have some financial exposure to the market. And so we're like, that's a really interesting problem. They've got a shit ton of money and no time, or they don't want to learn the skills. Like, we should be getting some of that money. We got to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah. Right.
And so we created this thing called EF Capital, where it's basically going to be a marketplace for skilled operators with a track record of building businesses to pair up with these investors, right? So they can raise money from these investors. We'll help them manage the fund, manage the investors, and they can buy businesses from our platform. And we're working through the whole detail now. We've got our first round closed, and they're buying the businesses now. But this came about from one of our employees who we discussed and kind of like this is a problem with for a number of years. He is like, I think I got a way to solve this, guys. And so we talked about it over a number of months, and kind of set up the business through him. It's now a separate entity. We're working with him on the business, and I think it's it's really exciting. There's lots of opportunities to do deals like that. One of the unique problems we have is a lot of our employees, because we buy and sell businesses, we broker the sale of these businesses. A lot of them are like super successful. So people bring us these businesses and they're crushing it, dude. They're making like $200,000 in profit a month, just crushing it. And our employees are like, dude, like, these successful businesses are everywhere. Like, anyone can be successful. Like, I talked to this guy and, he's all right, but like, he's not the smartest guy ever. Like, I think I could do that.
He figured it
and
out.
And so, so one thing we have to remind them is that, it's a fallacy or like a problem where we only see the successful ones. Right. So like, if you're coming to list or sell your business with us, We don't see any of the guys that kind of failed in the junk heap of like, was an idea, tried it, didn't work. We don't see any of the people that actually started the business and like it didn't make money. We don't see any, like all of those we don't see. And so you just have this like bias of just seeing successful business after successful business brought to us. Yeah. And they're like, damn, it seems so easy. And they're kind of right, but they're missing all of the kind of failures along the way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a lot easier for them to have that sort of abundance mindset all the time. Now, do your team members, do they earn like a commission for when they broker stuff? Like how does that whole model work with them?
Yeah, so we have an interesting model where it's not a traditional brokerage. So you don't, like when you come to us, you don't work with a broker. It's not like you're assigned a guy and like kind of that's your guy and he's going to hold your hand through the process. It's very processed out. So, when you come to Empire Flippers, you're dealing with, you may be dealing with the sales or marketing on the front end. And then on the sales side, for example, you submit your business, you're now working with our vetting team. So it's kind of a compliance team that does all their checks and everything. And that will typically last a couple of weeks. And then once you're past that, you'll be into the customer service team where you're dealing with salespeople. They're doing buyer seller calls. So they're doing a prep call with you, and then they will do a call and they'll manage that call with an actual buyer. And then once that call is over, then they'll do a follow-up call with you to say, hey, here's kind of how that went, and here's what we should expect next. And then once you come to a deal, there's a lot of things involved there. But once you've come to an agreement with a buyer, you're then handed off to our migrations team. So we have a whole team of people dedicated to helping move the business from the seller to the buyer. So, it's not like just a kind of a brokerage relationship. So we set up very differently, I think, than traditional kind of like service companies like ours. You asked about commissions, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is interesting. Like, Joe and I have both been a part of sales organizations where you make an individual commission, right? And so if you get the deal, you make the money. And so, the problem with that is it's not very cooperative. Right. So if you're like, we were in the mortgage business, both Joe and I. And so like, I don't want to help the other guy with like a loan. He's out for the day. Like, I don't get my money. I'm not helping him. Yeah. Those were buddies or something maybe. But like, I have no financial incentive to help him. So we didn't want a sales organization like that. Right. We wanted a more cooperative approach. So none of our salespeople make any individual commissions on the deal. We have a admittedly complicated approach where our entire team is part of a comp plan, and that's based on how the company does overall. It's tied to revenue for the company. But if we hit our goals and they get a certain percentage, if they do above, they get a certain percentage, and that typically works out to sales having more of their pay through the comp plan, marketing kind of like in the mid range, and then operations kind of on the lower end. So they get more base and they get less of the comp plan, if that makes sense. So it's distributed across the team, kind of based on what department you're in, but it's not an individual kind of commission per deal. And I think we did it that way because we wanted the cooperative approach, but we're really happy with how that turned out.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's kind of the ethos of what Empire Flippers is, too. It's like you guys are kind of this collective, it seems like, all the way from the apprenticeship and bringing them through your culture and living with you, and not anymore, but, like having that kind of thing. It's like, no, you're part of this crew, this family here. So let's all help each other win and succeed at this thing.
Yeah. My business partner likes to say team, not family. We do this, because if you have to fire someone, like I want to fire my brother.
True that.
You know what I mean? But
good point.
Like I'm not firing my brother as my brother, but like I will fire a team if they're not making it, if they're hurting it for everyone else. We had an issue this earlier in 2020 where where the pandemic was kicking in. It was like March, April, and like business ground to a halt. Right? People were not spending money. It was like March and just all the money got sucked up and no one was spending anything. And we were like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? I don't know what our company's going to look like. And so we, we're transparent, kind of like about our company to our customers and kind of externally, but internally too. Like it's important to us to let our team know what's up. And so we brought them all together, to all hands basically. It was like, look, I don't know where we're going, but this is not looking good. And we got to batten down the hatches, and we're going to do everything we can to like make it through this. We're going to release, we told our management team, we're going to release some margin requirements, meaning if we need to spend a bit more and not get the profit margins we expected, okay, let's release that. Whatever we need to do, let's make it through this as best we can. Keep all the people we can, particularly for like key roles, and let's just figure this out. And we were expecting a long haul in this. Now May turned around and just absolutely crushed it. Like it was like our best month ever.
Wow.
So like that went away really quickly. But it was like from our perspective, we're like, look, let's just let everyone on the team know where we're at, kind of what's going on, because that breeds trust.
Yep.
Right. And they're going to know that when we come to them and say, hey, look, we need to do this right now. Like this is where we need to go. They're going to believe me.
They know why.
Right? Because I'm telling them what's up. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that transparency, even if it's not like said, clear, it's just known like, oh, I could trust them more now that, okay, I can see the shit is hitting the fan right now, but the fact that, maybe it's more of a focus, more of a dedication to turning this thing around together.
Well, it also allows them to sort of mentally prepare. Like they could, if they're kind of hearing this stuff, they're starting to get ready. Like, okay, what's my plan B if this goes the way it might go?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of peace of mind, at least on the entrepreneur's mind, that they actually are getting a little bit of leeway to kind of start thinking about some plan Bs here.
For sure.
We did the same thing in the Philippines crew many years ago when we had to bring them together. We had to shut down our office at one point, which was a thing. We were didn't have the money, couldn't keep the office open, said everyone's gonna go home. Our initial going remote was kind of a forced go remote because we couldn't pay for the office anymore. And so we told everyone, like, look, this is rough. Like we're not in the best financial shape right now. Our company's struggling, but we're gonna try and stick through it. And if you guys can stick it through with us, that's great. If you can't, like, we completely understand. But let's try to pull together and see if we can make it. But we're gonna do the best we can do. This is our plan. And ever since then, like our crew would come back to us. They're like, we really appreciated that. It made us feel so much better. And like, I don't think we lost anyone from that conversation. We lost people along the way for other reasons, but it wasn't like, oh my God, they're in trouble. It was like, oh shit, let's bring this together. Let's make this happen.
That's cool, man.
It kind of lights that fire.
It does. There's couple things in my mind that are lingering, actually, still from that hiring process. I want to like kind of close the loop. There is, I think we were at that second interview. So, we got the hiring phase, I'm imagining, and then kind of this onboarding phase, right? So, how do those two pieces look like?
Yeah. So from the second interview, I mean, a lot of the second interview is just making sure there's a really good cultural fit. Like, would I have beers with this person? We're going to be working really closely together. Is this someone that I can work with, that I'm going to, if we're arguing, like what kind of arguments would we have together? What's their personality type and how would that gel with mine? How would it gel with Joe's? Right. And so that's kind of what we're figuring out in the second interview. Most of those people are qualified in terms of like skills and, we would like them, we would have them work in our business, but now it's just kind of like picking and choosing like who we want to work there. After that, after we invite them all, or invite the people we're hiring, and say no to everyone who's not, then there's going to be an onboarding process. So what that basically looked like was like, look, we'd let the person that we hired know first. We'd say, look, we need to know within 48 hours whether you're going to take this position. Otherwise, we're going to have to give it to someone else. And so we gave them, that we had that kind of like breathing room before we told everyone else no. That you got this 48 hours, and then we'd normally get an answer back right away, yes, and then we'd let everyone know. Once they're on board, it's normally like a month. It was like, I think 3 to 6 weeks before we'd expect them out. And so we do a bunch of things like sending them emails on like what content they should read of ours that we've put out to give them a really good sense of who we are. This is interviews or our own blog posts or podcasts. We gave them other people's kind of content to kind of help prepare for the role, and so they have a good sense on kind of what's going on in our space. And then we sent them emails about what to prepare, both personally and then professionally, in terms of like, getting their shit together to move halfway around the world. So that was it. And then we actually had them early on, we had them buy their own flight. So that was a big one.
Before,
like, we're like, you buy your own flight. Like, look, we're going to pay you right away when you come out. It's no problem. But like, that's a commitment thing. And I think one time we paid for someone's flight to come out because he was like really young and we knew he didn't have any money. But like everyone else, we had them pay. And it's a commitment. If they're willing to do that, everything else, once they get out there, we do everything for them. But just, we want them to buy that flight. And it's kind of a step. We don't do that stuff now, but it's interesting.
Yeah, man. I mean, just the fact, getting that commitment to getting someone to fly across the world, and especially if they've never been there before, to anywhere new. But
go
ahead.
we've changed. Now this has changed a ton. Is kind of the onboarding. But like when we were starting out, we would have, I think it was a Google spreadsheet with all the logins they would need. And so we would just kind of go through and make sure they had all the logins and then track it in the spreadsheet on what logins and access they had to everything to kind of get them started. And then we would just kind of like walk them through, the basic kind of like process for different departments. This is what sales does. This is what marketing does. As we grew, this got really messy because, if you're in the let's say you're getting hired for an operational role, like the migrations team, like if you have the migrations person telling you what marketing does, like, that person may have a totally different perspective than a salesperson telling you what marketing does. And so it was messy. So we decided instead of doing that, we had them go department to department. And in a small company, it may mean just, the head of marketing or the only marketing guy sits down with any new hires and explains marketing. And then the operations person explains operations. The salesperson explains sales. And so that's a really good way to do it. Now we have an HR person that kind of does that hand holding. And then, Joe and I would do kind of a, founder story and kind of Q&A with the new hires. And we do that still today.
Yeah. It helps with all the podcasts. I think you have like 4 or 5 podcasts or something like that. You have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. It used to be the Justin and Joe show is what we lovingly called it, right? It was like us always doing podcasts, like us always doing the content. It was just us. Hey guys, it was all over the place. And look, hey, it helps because, it's like it's personality driven brand, right? People get to know you. They like you. They trust you. But like, it's hard to like build a larger business that way. And so, luckily we made the transition to, allowing kind of other personalities in the space and taking some of the load off of Joe and I to where our team can start to be out there and start to get known for kind of the things that they do. And that's been a huge help to us in terms of like being business owners. So it lets us take a step back from just banging out content all the time.
For sure. Yeah. It reminds me of our friend Roland Frazier. He has this thing, the dancing bear concept. It's like once you stop dancing, the show stops basically, and that's if it's all you, everything, But
that's so true, bro. That's so true.
But I like integrating the team in there. We've done the same here, and it's cool to kind of share the stage or give the stage in some senses. And then again, it's like a culture thing.
It's also weird. I'll admit that there are times where I get a little. Like, that's my spotlight. You know what I mean? Like
ego popping up.
Why are you stealing my thunder? Like that. So that's, as a marketer, like that's something you have to I struggle with. Yep. And hand over the reins. Like Greg is a good example. I know like Greg on the show. Yeah. Where there are times where I'm like, I want to go grab the reins from him and like, no. And I'm like, nope. You know what? He's got this, man. I believe in this kid.
I wouldn't say it that way. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you got anything else, Matt?
Yeah, I'll just circle back around to that other question. If somebody was looking to get into like selling a website and they wanted to build something, bootstrap it, and sell it on Empire Flippers, what sort of path would you recommend they take to set it up to sell?
Yeah, so it probably depends on the type of business you want to build. And there's so many different types. I think like for someone just getting started, like just affiliate sites, Amazon associate type sites are really the easiest. And you're going to learn all the things you need to learn about domains, hosting, affiliate links, how to place them, like conversion rate optimization, SEO. Like these are all basics you're going to know for most online businesses. And it's a really easy way to start. In terms of preparing to sale, there's a whole bunch that goes into that. If it's, with us in particular, an Amazon associate site needs to be making at least $500 a month for 6 months. So those are kind of the minimums. For any other type of business that's any more complicated, FBA, e-commerce, Kindle, it's $1,000 a month minimum. So you need to kind of cross that threshold. And then you can get ready to sell. You normally want to be running it at least a year. So the business needs to be at least kind of a year aged before anyone's really going to be interested in buying it. Generally the larger sites tend to sell for much larger multiples. So if you're trying to sell, a site in the like five figures, maybe like low 6 figures, that same business, 5 times larger is probably going to actually be 7 times larger, 8 times larger because of a better multiple. For example, an affiliate site at, that's worth like, let's say $100,000 may sell at a 30 times net profit, or it might sell at a 40, 45 times net profit if it's valued around $1 million.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's monthly net profit, right? Not annual net profit.
Yeah, monthly. Now some people are listening like, damn.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we did dive pretty deep down that rabbit hole when we had Greg on, and we also had Matt Diggity on, and we talked about some of that stuff with him as well. So we have some episodes where we dive pretty deep on that. I just, wanted to hear from your perspective to see if your answer lined up with Greg. And
wow, you're checking his work, huh?
I'm checking it
Yeah,
out.
there you go. Just like, I check new hires. Man, I hope I get the job.
There you go, Greg. We trust you now. No,
we didn't trust you until just now, but now you're good.
That's it. That is legit.
Well, Justin, like, what else is what's new? Like, what's in the future for you, Joe, Empire Flippers? Like, what do you got in the mind? Any kind of things you're going to steer towards in the vision?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things for us long term is kind of the EF capital play.
Yeah.
So like here's kind of where we see like a lot of we see that being potentially like $1 billion company territory. And the reason is because there's an emerging asset class with these kind of online businesses that are investable. And you see it already definitely in the 10 million plus businesses. Like there's plenty of private equity family offices that are looking to buy up 10, 15, 20, $25 million businesses. And they're just starting to move down to the smaller valuations, to the 4 million, to the 3 million businesses. They're seeing, wow, those are valuable. And in fact, there's not as many people looking for them. We can get them at much better discounts compared to a $20 million business. So more and more people are moving down that value chain. So, the fact there's a lot of investable money focused in that space, I think that, turning this part of our market into an actual investable asset class will be huge. So, I don't know if it's going to be EF Capital that does it, but it's going to be us, or it's going to be someone else in our space that really kind of solves that lots of money, no skill problem.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a really big move in our industry.
I love that. That's something for all of us listening and, working on these kind of assets, just have in mind. It's like, these are all assets that we're building. And obviously there's ways to engineer them to get more multiples and all that stuff. Go check out the Greg episode, the previous one we did. But yeah, that's fascinating, man. So I hope you guys pull it off. We'll keep an eye on it.
Man. Me too.
That sounds fun.
We'll come back on. We'll talk about it.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So empireflippers.com is your main website. Is there anywhere else you'd want people to go check out after listening to this episode, or is that the place to go?
That's the place to go. I mean, you can check out our podcast, Empire Flippers Podcast, Opportunity Podcast, and I'm on Twitter. That's actually me, not some marketing apprentice. So Twitter at Empire Flippers.
Right on. Justin, thank you, my man. It's been fun.
Thanks, man.
Hello, my friend.
Hi there.
Hi. You've been next to me the whole time, but we haven't really chatted with each other, I guess, huh?
Oh, I didn't see you there. I just realized you've been sitting there. This is weird.
Yeah. This is
It's weird when somebody's, 2 feet, 18 inches away from you?
Yeah. That's nope, way too close for COVID protocol.
Yeah, but we're both vaccinated.
We are. Hey, all right. So
we just lost fans by me saying that, I'm sure.
Well. We're not going to talk more about that, but that's fine.
No.
Yeah, we are. But Justin, let's talk about Justin.
Yeah, Empire Flippers.
Empire Flippers. This is a third episode with a gentleman from the Empire Flippers. Yeah, we had Greg on twice.
Greg's been on twice, and then I think when we had Matt Diggity on, we talked about Empire Flippers there as well, because I think that's the platform he uses to sell his stuff.
I see why. Yeah. So Justin, he's one of the founders. Him and his partner Joe. That was just a really cool story. I like to hear I like all the parallels that, our business kind of share with them.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've stacked on that same kind of model with the flipping and turning into a brokerage kind of company there. And then with everything else with that EF Capital, ideally that's going to pan. I mean, that just seems like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
For smaller companies that are doing, this kind of stuff.
I think it's really freaking smart to, if you have a skill that can make money, and you can duplicate that skill over and over and over again and make money with that skill. And if you had some investment capital, you can do that skill at a much bigger level. This seems really smart to me. Flipping is just kind of one example. They obviously do this in real estate, right? Isn't that kind of what an REIT is where I don't know.
Not sure.
I don't know a lot about real estate, so I'm talking out of my ass right now.
Well, they flip houses.
But there's people that will basically pool money from investors.
Oh, right.
And then they take that pooled money and then flip houses or purchase rental properties or
that's we should know this because we have a lot of our friends that do this and have talk to us about it. But yes, that model that's escaping me as well.
Yeah, I can't remember what they call that model. We've talked to multiple people on the show about
REITs.
No, well, I don't know. I think I don't know.
Now we're just looking.
I know that's Real Estate Investment Trust is what an REIT stands for, but I don't know if it's exactly what I explained it. I'm sure we'll hear from people who will tell us.
Let us know. Educate us. Re-educate us. But you're right. I mean, the fact that there's going to be capital.
Syndicate.
Yes,
that's the word we were looking
deals.
for.
You're right.
Syndicate deals.
Bam, got it. You can still educate us on maybe there's another term or something. Yeah. But yeah, it's cool that is going to open up, and they're seeing that opportunity, and others are in smaller companies, and because they are assets. We're all building these assets, and some might be more valuable than others. Some might be a lot more sellable than others. And that's cool. Like, we've actually had some of our assets looked at by Greg recently.
Yeah.
And he was even telling us, he's like, not totally sellable, but here's what I would do here. And here's some of the things that you can really like enhance the value and maybe lead that direction if you wish. And obviously, Justin talked about those Amazon affiliate sites. So, and I know they sell a lot of those types of things, FBA sites.
Yeah, and that to me blows me away too, because it's like Amazon, I feel like, is penny affiliate commissions. It's like you could sell something for $100 and your commission on that's going to be like $3.
Right.
It's like, so it's crazy to me that Amazon businesses are actually, I mean, I get the FBA Amazon, but Amazon affiliate sites, to me, it's kind of crazy. I mean, you got to do some crazy high volume to make any sort of meaningful money.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're trying to get $500 a month, like $500 a month based on the commissions you're getting from Amazon, you got to be doing fucking 6 figures in sales or something. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, kind of curious now. Now, a good way to learn is just go to Empire Flippers and start sorting through their listings. Yeah, I mean, you can learn so much. We mentioned Flippa, and I wasn't going to say the name, but Justin said, I'm like, okay, we're going there. But like, that's how we learned, is going through the listings. Remember, and we would like study, and obviously he said people would like rip them off. Yep. The Empire Flipper sites, because they're like, well, these guys are crushing. Probably should model them. We kind of did that back in the day. I think it was Justin Brook. We modeled a lot.
He had a site called sitefling.com or something like that. Yeah. And basically he taught how to flip websites. We went through some of his training, and Josh Bartlett also flipped websites too. And so Josh,
this is that whole era.
Yeah. So we were kind of, I think Josh was actually the person who first introduced us to site flipping. And then we kind of learned more about it from Justin's content.
Mr. Bartlett of Thrivecart is definitely the catalyst of many things for us.
Yeah, and Easy Video Suite.
Thank you. Yes,
and Adello.
Old school. That's cool. Old school.
And Twitter Fuel.
Oh yes.
And what are some of the other obscure softwares that he's built over the years?
Twitter Fuel, I remember. I think that was the first one I remember. I remember the graphics look really good.
Viral Elite was another one that he built.
That sounds
but I don't know if he ever sold it. I think it was one of those things that it was like
petered out.
No, he used it as like a bonus for like launching something else.
It's a pretty sick bonus.
Yeah,
software.
He literally developed like a very basic software thing to promote a product as an affiliate. I don't remember what the product was at the time.
That's
I think
next
it was
level shit, man.
It was like a Mike Filsaime product. We're getting so off track here, but this is a cool conversation.
hey, just shout out to our buddy that's legit helped us for so many years now. So
yeah,
Josh.
But yeah, he was the one who originally introduced us to flipping. Told us about Flippa. I think we also used to use a site called SitePoint as well.
Yeah. Was that Justin Brooks, or was that not? That's not his site.
No. That wasn't his site. That was like a big forum where you could sell sites if you wanted. But Flippa was much more organized.
My buddy Brenton knew the guy that ran that site. That's what it was. Way back in the day. Whole history there. Yeah. We'll go down there. But yes, that website was huge. It might still be. But Empire Flippers, fact is, go check out the site just if you're interested in how they do a lot of this stuff for the listings. They show you a lot of details, and I think even the financials of these sites, just so you can kind of understand where they're investing money.
Well, I think the seller can kind of decide how much detail and data they want to provide. So I think it's dependent on that. I know there's a lot of you got to sign an NWA if you want to even look at this offer. NWA? Did I say NWA? NDA. NWA. You got to sign with NWA. No, you got to sign an NDA.
Some rap. I love it.
But yeah, I know some of them.
They going to Compton later? What are we doing?
Yes, to sign my NWA. But no, there are some that make you sign this NWA to even see the name of the site that's being sold and stuff like that. possibly even non-competes, which I don't know how well
I
that
don't
kind of
know,
stuff holds
but-
up. But
Check it out. It's worth it. And also, actually, on the hiring front, because we talked a lot about the apprentice, their process, but also just hiring in general. Check out their website under the careers tab. I think I found it by going to their footer. But you can kind of see some of what Justin was saying in the episode in terms of like how, there's a YouTube video and
you don't need to move to the Philippines or Vietnam if you want to work for them either.
yeah, actually, now like these are legit positions too. These aren't the apprenticeships on their site, but yeah, you don't have to. It's work from home now. It seems like, but it's cool. So go take a peek at their site, see what they're up to.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, you should.
See what sites I should build and flip myself.
Not you though. Maybe you.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'll never do it, but
You probably won't. Yeah, I don't know when you're gonna do it, but maybe we'll have a team to do it. Yeah. Anything else? I think it was just a cool interview. I mean, we kind of bounced all over the place, but probably in this edited version, it's a little cleaner. Yeah.
I mean, like the big key of it was his hiring process, and I feel like he's got a pretty solid process that he mapped out, and I don't really feel I have a whole lot to add to that specific process.
They got it dialed, my friend.
Yeah.
I just like I like how their evolution has happened, Justin and Joe's with Empire Flippers, and I could see some cool stuff in the future there too. So likely, like Justin said, we'll probably come back, ideally with EW Capital, Empire Flippers. No, EF Capital.
EF Capital.
Like, not EW. I don't know. Pretty cool. So keeping on the trends and what's selling and what's happening right now in the marketplace, I think is super valuable for all us to kind of think of.
Yep.
Because that's where the puck is going, right, Matt?
That's where the puck is going.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's what the kids say, right?
So go get that puck.
Or Gretzky, one of the two.
Yeah. And, we shouted out Jacob a bunch. So one last shout out for Jacob. We love you. You're amazing. You are a...
Man love?
Man love.
Cool. You go on there now.
Yeah. He's married, so...
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Can't stop the man love.
Jacob, you are awesome.
Hey, Sue's awesome too.
Sue is very awesome.
Sue, we love you too.
We love both of you.
Hell yeah. You were just giving them shout outs?
Just giving them shout outs.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know if there was more to it. I
mean, they're both hearing this.
They are.
So
I would hope so.
You guys are awesome.
Well, let's give a shout out now to Sue, more so on the notes with the action guides, because we took a lot of them. She took the notes.
She did.
We did not. We'd be lying if we painstakingly took all the notes. She does that for us. So thank you.
Yes.
Don't know how you do that so fast either. But go get the action guides of this episode over at flowchartgroup.com. That is flowchartgroup.com. Thank you, Matt. I knew you were going to do that for some reason. That's a redirect to our Facebook group, but please plug in your email address because that's how you get the action guides. And you got to be quick within 2 weeks of this episode going live. After 2 weeks, they go away into our vault, never to be seen again.
Unless you pay for Evergreen Profits membership.
Exactly.
Which we're going to rebrand, but we'll talk about that in a different episode.
It's a no-brainer thing, so you should just join it. When you get the opportunity, you'll see it. Just go to flowchartgroup.com, plug in your email address, go join the community too, hang out with us, go shout us out, go educate us on some real estate stuff that we don't know about.
Say, you guys are dumb when it comes to real estate. You shouldn't talk about that ever.
Be so brutal.
No, that's what they would say.
Oh, yeah. Do you have thick skin, Matt?
Sometimes. Depends on...
choose the day wisely when you want to throw some shit at Matt.
Depends on the... Yeah. If it's a Monday and I'm like not feeling it
Stay away from Matt on Mondays.
Actually, Mondays are too bad these days.
Yeah.
I really like how we structure our week, but that is a topic for a different day also.
Maybe we'll revisit that in our solo episode this afternoon.
Maybe we should, because that is the way we...
I like that idea.
The way we've worked our weeks these days is like pretty freaking awesome.
I feel like it's bringing us more happiness as well.
Yes.
Put her there, partner.
Boom.
All right, so let's wrap this puppy up with an easy webinar shout out. Because there are boys and gals.
Webinar.com/hustle.
That's right. That's actually the site. So go there. Their main website is great, easywebinar.com. But,
it's got one problem.
What's that?
You don't get hooked up with a discount if you go to easywebinar.com.
You would just be giving them more money, which I'm sure they wouldn't argue, but let's go to easywebinar.com/hustle and you'll see this fancy page they made for us.
Yeah.
And a couple guys in
they
plaid,
photoshopped us.
3 guys in plaid and 1 shirt.
They photoshopped us into a room with a microphone and it made it look like we were speaking in front of an audience, but we were really speaking in front of 2 people.
That's some damn good Photoshop.
Yeah.
But look at that. There's 3 guys in plaid. We happen to be 2 of them. It's too much plaid in one space.
Yeah. Well,
we used to wear a lot of plaid all the time.
I do still wear plaid when it's cool out.
You still wear that shirt all the time.
Actually, I don't very often.
Oh, you don't?
But
I still have that shirt.
yeah.
It's getting a little tight.
I do still have that shirt. I don't
getting
wear it
muscly.
very often. If you want to know what shirt we're talking about, go to easywebinar.com/hustle.
I'm just going to keep talking about the picture until people, all right, I got to go to easywebinar.com/hustle.
Is that Christine in the picture?
No, this is some random chick that, I don't know. I don't know that guy. This is an old market. It's an old shot from a marketing group we used to go to in San Diego all the time. Henry Evans's group. What up? All right. So back to Easy Webinar, since they're paying for this spot. Thank you, Casey and team. Go check out Easy Webinar because, well, go check out the page. You'll see what we're talking about. But
it's amazing. Mind blowing.
It's earth shattering even. I don't know what that would sound like though, but I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
If the earth shatters, that'd be bad. So that's why you need to go to easywebinar.com/hustle. If you are at all doing any kind of webinars or interested in doing webinars, this is your tool to do it all, and they do everything. I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, easywebinar.com/hustle. Go check it out. Go check out Justin Cooke and Empire Flippers as well. Thanks for listening. Share this episode around. Leave us a review. One of these days, we're actually going to read some reviews.
How about we do that later today?
Okay.
On a different episode.
Yeah, some of our next episodes that are coming out, listen for the reviews because we're going to read some off finally.
But if you leave one, make it awesome and we'll pick it.
Yes.
Most likely.
The awesomer the review, the more likelier. I'm just making up words.
Keep going. It's great.
The more likely are to hear it read by Joe's mouth.
My mouth. What else would be reading it?
You don't want to.
Don't answer that. All right. See you next time. Love y'all.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Before taking the time to listen, we want to give you something a little bit special. Every single episode that we do, we actually have somebody on our team take notes. We basically have a Cliff's Notes version of every episode where you can go and find all of the tips and tactics that they laid out, all of the resources that they laid out, all the good stuff from this episode. We actually have a nice simple notes version that you can find on our website. So go to evergreenprofits.com, find this episode that you just listened to, and give us your email address and we'll send you the notes. Thanks for listening. Go get it. Wiki. We love you.